In the year 1582, a bloody battle took place deep in the Philippine jungle. A garrison of Spaniards and Mexican natives faced a large number of Japanese pirates, many of whom were former samurai. In today's video, we're going to talk about one of the most unusual battles in history, and the meeting of two completely different worlds in what became known as the Battle of Cagayan. Before we talk about how the Tlaxcaltecans fought for the Spanish Empire in the Philippines, it's important to highlight how the Mexican natives participated in the administration of the Spanish Empire. Hernán Cortés' conquest of the Aztec Empire completely changed the history of North America. This is because the Spaniards did not defeat the Aztecs alone. It would have been impossible for 100 Spaniards to defeat nearly 1 million indigenous people. The Spaniards triumphed thanks to the help of other Mexica peoples who were also revolting against Aztec domination due to their oppression. Among them, we can highlight the Texcocans, the Totonacs, and especially the Tlaxcaltecans, who were the Aztecs' great rivals. Thus, the Spaniards created the Viceroyalty of New Spain, in what is today Mexico, and the natives began to integrate into the governance of the conquered territories. Nicolás de San Luis Montañez, a Mexican native, for example, was the chief of Tula, an indigenous conqueror and colonizer of the Querétaro Valley in Mexico, and was even knighted into the Order of Santiago. Another example is Andrés de Tapia Motelchiu, appointed by Hernán Cortés as governor of Tenochtitlan, who died in battle alongside the Spaniards, trying to conquer the Chichimecas after being struck by an arrow. Pedro de Montezuma Tlacahuepan, son of the Aztec Emperor Montezuma, was considered a noble in New Spain, and even the descendants of Montezuma became nobles in the Spanish Empire. Philip IV granted the descendants of Montezuma the title of Count of Montezuma, as well as Viscounts and the Lordship of Tula. Later, the Duchy of Montezuma de Tultengo was created, a noble title specifically for the descendants of the ancient Aztec leader. The Spaniards integrated the Mexicas not only in the administration of their empire, but also in the expansions of that viceroyalty beyond the seas. And this began with Hernán Cortés' plans for the conquest of the Pacific. Hernán Cortés outfitted an expedition to reach China and the Spice Islands, but it ultimately failed. With the expedition of Portuguese navigator Ferdinand Magellan in search of the Spice Islands, the Portuguese discovered the Philippine Islands. Magellan ended up dying there after being lured into an ambush by the natives. After Magellan's death, the rest of the Portuguese crew decided to abandon the island. This gave the Spaniards the opportunity to take control of the island, which they did. The island, now known as the Philippines, was named in honor of King Philip II of Spain. With the Spanish dominance over the Philippines, the Spaniards gained an excellent point for trading goods in the East. The Philippines produced gold, rice, ginger, sandalwood, sago, and other local spices like myrobalan, which had a high value in the West. At the same time, sailing to Spain via the Indian Ocean would subject sailors to a journey of half the world without any stopovers, since the Portuguese dominated the entire region due to the Treaty of Tordesillas. Thus, the Spaniards established the Manila galleon. The Manila galleons were Spanish merchant ships that crossed the Pacific Ocean once or twice a year, sailing between Manila in the Philippines and Acapulco in Mexico, then part of the Viceroyalty of New Spain. In this way, goods would leave Manila in the Philippines and go to Acapulco in Mexico, from where they would be shipped to Spain. And Spain also did something unprecedented. It made the Philippines a protectorate of the Viceroyalty of New Spain. At that time, the territory of Mexico was vast, extending beyond what is now the United States and reaching into South America. Since the Spanish crown had decided that the Philippines would be a protectorate of Mexico, the country had its own overseas territory across the ocean. The route from Manila in the Philippines to Acapulco, Mexico, made the territory of the Viceroyalty incredibly prosperous. perhaps the wealthiest in all of the Americas. But how did the Mexicans get involved in conflicts with the samurais in the Philippines? What were these conflicts like? And what role did the former samurais play in them? Once the protectorate was established in the Philippines, Spain found itself facing an unexpected problem. The South China Sea was plagued by pirates. The Wokou pirates were a major threat in the region. These pirates were mostly composed of Japanese, Chinese, and Southeast Asian natives, and even some Ronins were part of the pirate forces. In Japanese culture, whenever a samurai was dismissed by his master or his master died, he was expected to commit seppuku, harakiri, meaning to cut his own belly and die. This was part of the samurai code of conduct, deeply tied to the ideals of honor and valor. When a samurai refused to commit such an act, he was shunned, lost his status as a samurai, and became a ronin, similar to a wandering knight, leading a dishonorable life. Thus many ronins, in search of a means to survive, turned to piracy in Southeast Asia, causing disturbances and unrest. The Portuguese played a crucial role in combating these pirates. The Portuguese had already faced many ronins in the famous Battle of Fukuda Bay in 1565, but it was the Spaniards who now had to deal with this problem. The Wokou pirates terrorized the region between the Philippines, China, and Japan. Any ship daring enough to sail through those waters was at risk of attack by these pirates. What worried the Spaniards the most was that the pirates were building a stronghold on Luzon, the largest island in the Philippines. Thus, King Philip II sent Commander Juan Pablo de Carrion to deal with the pirates and ensure the safety of the routes around the Philippines. Juan Pablo de Carrion's troops included Spaniards, Mexican natives, and Filipino natives, all properly equipped and trained in Spanish military tactics. It didn't take long for the first conflict to occur. The accounts of the battle reach us through two sources: Juan Bautista Roman, the Attorney General of the Philippines, and Gonzalo Ronquillo, the Captain General of the Philippines, both writing to King Philip II about the battles against the pirates. The two accounts have some inconsistencies, but they follow the same general sequence of events. The first encounter with the pirates occurred in the South China Sea, where the Spanish commander spotted a pirate warship and bombarded it until it retreated. Juan Pablo de Carrion aimed to repel the pirates and show Spanish presence in those seas. However, upon learning of the Spanish attack, the Japanese pirate leader Taifusa gathered a fleet of 18 sampans and headed toward the Philippines. Juan Pablo de Carrion, on the other hand, had a fleet of 7 warships, consisting of 5 small support vessels, a light ship called San Giuseppe, and a galley named Capitan. Each ship had at least 40 soldiers, in addition to the crew. Thus began the first encounter between the Spaniards and the pirates. The Spanish galley Capitan spotted a pirate Japanese ship and engaged it in a close battle. However, what the Spaniards didn't know was that the pirates were not only in greater numbers, with their ship packed with fighters, but they also possessed firearms acquired earlier through the Portuguese who had been in Japan. The Japanese pirates began to invade the Spanish ship, and the commander had to employ the tercios formation, positioning pikemen at the front and arquebusiers at the back to repel the pirates' assault. However, even as the Japanese took control of the ship's deck, the Spanish armor was superior to the pirates, causing heavy casualties among them. Realizing they would not win in close combat, many pirates attempted to flee by jumping into the water. Exhausted, injured, and weighed down by their own armor, many of them drowned, adding even more casualties to the pirate side. After reorganizing, the Spanish flotilla continued along the Rio Grande de Cagayan and during their journey encountered a fleet of 18 ships led by Taifusa. The forces clashed, firing cannon shots at each other until the superior Spanish cannons, more powerful and better handled, gave them the advantage. Taking advantage of this, the Spaniards landed at a bend in the river and set up positions near the bulk of the enemy forces. There, they built a trench, positioning the galley's cannons to continue bombarding the enemy. Faced with the unfavorable situation, the Wokou pirates offered to surrender, but Juan Pablo de Cagayan refused the offer and demanded that the pirates leave the island. The pirates then requested compensation in gold for the losses they would incur if they left, but Juan Pablo refused again and reiterated that they should depart from the island. Thus, with the negotiations broken down, the Japanese launched a renewed attack on the Spanish land positions, using their numerical superiority in an attempt to overwhelm the defenders. With both sides running low on gunpowder, the combat turned into an intense hand-to-hand battle, and once again, the advantage of the Spanish armor proved superior. Thus, seeing that it would be impossible to defeat this Spanish garrison, the pirates began to retreat, with many dying along the way as they were pursued by the Spaniards. In this way, Juan Pablo de Cagayan managed to eliminate the pirate presence in northern Philippines. The commander, along with his troops and receiving additional reinforcements, then founded the city of Nueva Segovia, today called Lalo, in northern Philippines, which would serve as a base to counter any future pirate incursions from the north. And so, the Spanish continued to strengthen their hold in the Philippine Islands, establishing a presence that would last nearly 300 years. The establishment of the Spanish in the Philippines would be only the beginning of the realization of Philip II's ambitions. The Spanish monarch, who had already ordered the invasion of Brunei, began to lay out plans to conquer China, with the Philippines as a secure base. But that is a topic for another video. So, if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to the channel to hear more fascinating stories like this one.